This conference will now be recorded.
So, very good morning. And so, last session was regarding VPCs. So, we're creating a VPC in the last session, and we have seen the first of all the whole architecture, how the VPCs looks like. We can create VPCs with uh, what we call. One second, let me just go through that. So, this will be clear. Just a second. Let me log into the console. Please mute your mics. Please mute it. Make sure you mute your mics. Well, log into the AWS account and let me show you what we have done last session. Just log in. Let me get the credentials. Just a second. Just logging in. Right. So I was we are discussing pieces. So let's go to bits again. So things it creates an our own work kind of isolated network, and we are saying we this is for public net only, I guess, right? Let me show you. So what VPC is it? VPC. And so this was a VPC we have created last session, VPC scenario 1. Okay. So this VPC has, let's say, that's a VPC. And then how many subnets we have created for this? You can see the subnets. So where the subnet, that's a VPC. And go with that. So where are the subnets? So go to subnets, then we'll be able to see that. Go to subnets. Okay. So this is the one, I guess, that's created, and that's a subnet. And that's a VPC scenario 1 is a VPC. Let me show you. Subnet, and then you can see that. So network, that's my network VPC. You can see the network. Okay. And so you can see here as well, that's your network. So we have created a public subnet and for VPC. How did we do that? So we've gone through your VPC dashboard. So the VPC dashboard, we have launched it through Launch Wizard. And then, so this is the one we have created. Okay, that's one we have created. So VPC with a public subnet. So we created select. Okay, and there you have so these settings. So when you create a VPC, you select a VPC CIDR block, and also you select the subnet CIDR block. That's your subnet. It's the public subnet, and your subnet CIDR block has to be within the range of within the range of VPC. For example, so take this VPC CIDR block. VPC CIDR block is class B, okay. And so your subnet CIDR block has to be class B or less than that. Okay. So it is /16, so it has to be so /16 either or less than that. Okay, you cannot go class A. But so for example, like I've shown you that, but anyway, so let's go with 24, and then so my subnet is 16, so that's not possible. So whereas VPC itself is able to take 251 IPs within the VPC, and subnet is creating about so 16,000, 64,000. I'm sorry. So it's not possible, right? So that is one thing we need to keep in mind. And also availability zones. So what is availability zone we have created last session, or shall we create one? Okay, we'll create one. That's not a problem. Let's do it quickly. It's not a big deal. So let's go with 16 and also 16, or you can go with 24, let's say. So what we are creating an VPC with public subnet only. Okay. So and then select the availability zone. That's availability zone. I would go with 1A zone. Okay. And the VPC name, let's say, so VPC scenario 1. Okay. VPC scenario 1. Or I can say new VPC scenario 1. Let's do something like this. New VPC scenario 1. Okay. So that's your VPC scenario. And then an availability zone, we select the availability zones for the public subnet. Okay. Or we can say subnets, I mean. And then the subnet name of that subnet, okay, give some name, the VPC scenario 1, and then subnet is public subnet, give some names. Well, so availability zone is 1A is availability zone. Well, so create a VPC. Will be created. So let's check this. Okay. So which one it is? Let me check this. New VPC scenario 1. Let's refresh. Okay. That's new VPC scenario 1. Okay. This is the one we have created. And then, so you just check this. You can check the rest of the information. You can check this VPC, which is attached to it. That's a VPC, which is attached to the subnet. Then you can have your, so as NACL, network access control list, that's your network access control list. Okay. So go to NACL and let's find out the NACL for this. Hope you remember what is NACL. NACL is a security provided at subnet level or can say network level. That's a NACL. And then NACL also have some similarly to security groups, right? That means we have inbound rules, also outbound rules. Okay. Now, if you go to inbound rules, now you can edit inbound rules. And then, so here you see for NACL, you have two types of rules you can set up. One is allow rule, and second one is deny rule. Okay, you can allow or deny the rules. So, for example, instead of all traffic, and this is your rule number, we can set up the rule numbers according to the rule numbers. The priority will be given to the rules. This concept is not there in security groups. We can provide the priority for the rules, and also, so we can allow and deny the rules. That is, these two things are unique for the unit for the NACL, network access control list. So you can't find these ones in security groups. But and what type of traffic you want to allow? So I want to allow, and let's say HTTP rule. Okay, and so is from anywhere. Let's go with it, and then so I want to allow that, but I'm adding a new rule. So the rule is 101. That's a rule, and which is SSH. Okay, instead of saying SSH, okay, let's go with SSH. SSH is not the one which I want. Probably I will take so this is the public. That's okay. You can go with SSH with SSH, and then so source is as usual, but I want to deny that. So what are the rules we have set up? We have set up two rules. So one was, okay, so one thing is, first thing is HTTP. HTTP has to be from everywhere. Okay, I want to allow the traffic, but I want to deny. What type of rules I want to deny? I don't want anyone to do SSH onto the instances into my subnets. Okay, so that's deny rule. Now save it. No one will be able to do SSH onto the onto the instances within your networks. So this is what is a unique for the NACL purpose. Right. So we have created also inbound rules, outbound rules. Okay, if you want to go with outbound rules, you can do that. And then so these are outbound rules. Okay, these are outbound rules. But same way you can set up the outbound rules, and then just go with, and there you can check the subnets associated to the NACL. What are the subnets? So this is a subnet which is associated to the NACL. Okay. So, and what else? So we're going to launch an instance in this VPC for this subnet. Yeah, we'll be doing it. Okay. And as you can see that it is under 1A zone. Now, So I will be proceeding with launching an instance within this VPC under this subnet. Okay, let's see how do you do that. So back to the EC2. So go to EC2. As if you have any network issues, please try to relog into your meeting. Okay, that might be fixed. Anyone has any network issues? Okay. So now launching an instance. Just scroll down. I like to launch it. Launch it. Right. So quickly launch an instance. I'm taking some RHEL 8 AMI and then go with the default settings. I will be selecting event-micro as in my default instance type. And this is where, so network. This is how you select your networks. Now select my network. My network is, this is the network we have created. Select the network. Under this network, we have only one subnet, which is our public subnet. And you can see that availability zone of this. Availability zone is 1A is the availability zone. Okay, select it. And so this is one thing. And what is that? Auto assign public IP. So I want to enable it. So I want my instance needs to be assigned some default, automatic IP, public IPs. So whenever you change your networks, so by default, that is disabled. Okay. So since I have changed my network, that is disabled, I want to enable that. Enable it, and then go with next step. And storage, we know all these things, and give some name to the instance. Let's say name is equals to name. So, and this is VPC scenario 1 public instance. Okay, now next, and you have configure security group. Okay, so now in here, am I going to create a new security group? You see that always, so we have been selecting this option. What is that? Security group, which is new, create new security group. I don't want to create a new security groups every time. That's not even recommended. So I want to create my own security group, but so I will be doing it in a different way. Now, so what I will be doing, so let's go with dashboard again. I'm opening dashboard, and the dash, now we go to the VPC. I think EC, go to EC2. And at EC2 have option called create security groups. I create the security groups, I get them ready, and once I create them, so then I will be using it. So is it in a VPC? No, I think that's in VPC. Sorry. Now go to VPC. So go to VPCs. Okay. So here I just create a security group. Now under security, you have security group. Okay, I create a security group. Once I get my security group created, and then so I will be using that security group and the purpose of launch. Okay, I create my security group over here, create a security group. So this is how actually we create the security groups. We create security groups ready, and then later we can use it for particular VPC or subnet. Now give some name to the security group. Let's say this security group is for security group for so VPC and scenario 1 and then public subnet. Okay, public subnet. Okay, so for public and then give some description. You can give some description in the second step. And there you select the VPC. Okay, we select the VPC. So this VPC, once it is selected, then the security group will be available within that VPC only. Okay, so security group. And then you want to add the inbound rules, you just add inbound rules. Also, you can add the outbound rules. I want to make my inbound rules ready. So I want to go with, let's say, so what inbound rule I want to set it up? I want to go with HTTP. So previously I have set up the NAC that was at subnet level. Okay. Now we are creating an security group. This is for instance level. Hope you're able to compare it. Okay. Then you can just set the custom from anywhere. You can just go with anywhere. Okay. Now what if, let's say I'm adding a rule called SSH rule over here. SSH rule, and let's go with from anywhere. Okay. Now and then now will it be applied? Okay. Now you see that I have SSH rule. Okay. And if I have SSH rule, and then this SSH rule is at security group level. Right. So what is the purpose of this? The purpose of this is it is for allow rules. Right. Security groups are always like allow. Hope we know that. Okay. Well, so this security group is for our subnet. That means our VPC. We are creating a VPC, and that security group available only within that VPC. Okay. Right. So now let's see this. Now let's create a VPC. Not, but will it be? The question is this security group, if it's SSH from anywhere, so will it be applicable for the instances? Can I use a security group, this SSH tool? So I have set up my SSH tool at the instance level, but which is SSH from anywhere. Okay. Whereas your NACL is denying the tool, right? So NACL is denying SSH. So hope you recollect it. So what I have done, level set up a role called SSH. This is for that's for deny. So whereas at security group level, okay, I've set up SSH, but this is at allow. Always security groups are allow, right? There is nothing called deny anywhere. So that's also from anywhere. So can I do SSH onto my instance? Once instance is created, can I do SSH? I won't be able to do SSH. Since NACL is denying that role. At network level, NACL is denying, but security groups might be allowing it, but NACL is denying it. So that's not possible to do SSH onto your instances, even though you set up SSH. Okay, so that's the reason. Anytime, whenever you want to access, 1 second. So what is that? Okay. So back to this. There was an error creating a security group, and the reason was parameter group is invalid. Group names may not be SG something. Okay. Okay, well, yeah, understand. Say, never give a name to the security groups starting with SG. So don't do that. That's because that SG security group SG, this is predefined, and I'm sorry, this is like for AWS purpose. Whenever you create AWS creates a security groups, the names will be given so by default with SG. So that is for AWS purpose. We cannot create any groups starting with SG. That's not possible. Okay, that was an error actually. So VPC scenario 1 public subnet security group. Okay, give something like. So never start your security groups with SG. So that's not possible. Okay. So then we create it. Now it's being created. Okay. So security groups are created. That's for VPC public subnet. Okay. There. Now, while we launch instance, back to the screen. Now I want to go with. So select existing security group. I don't want to create a new one. I want to select an existing one. Okay. So what are the ones we have existing? Just I think. So go with. We just need to. But so refresh it. Back to the screen. Back to previous steps. Probably. Yeah, that's error. That's not a problem. Back. Second. Just select the other one. Previous. Okay. Okay. Now we can try that again. Select this existing one. Default VPC. 1 second. I think we have to refresh this. Okay. 1 second. Cancel it. We have created a new security group that is appearing in the list. So create an instance, and then go with this. Next, then select the VPC. Oh, sorry, first select the VPC. That's a VPC, and then subnet. Okay. Auto and IP address, public IP address, enable. Next, and that's next. So name is equals to. Okay. So give a name. Just say VPC. The new VPC scenario 1. So, okay. Instance. Let's say instance 12. Next. And now I would be selecting that. So there is your VPC security group. Okay. Now I select the security group. And the roles already been set up. We don't need to set them up again. Okay. So then we'll launch it, review, and then launch instance. So I can launch the instance. I can go with the choose existing key pair, select the key pair. Where is it? That's a key pair. Just launch. Okay. So check the instance. Okay. Now, for instance, now where are we at? Are we under instances? That's in the instances. We are at instances. Okay. There. So this instance. select the instance. Scroll up. Okay. And check this first, your network. Okay, go to networking. Then, so here you can see our network. That's first your VPC. Okay. However, that is under your subnet. There you can see the public subnet. That's our VPC. And now check another thing, which is your security group. And the security group is, just scroll down. So that's our security group. Now, for all the instances which I launch under this public subnet, I would be selecting that security group. So I don't want to create new security groups every time. That create a lot of confusions. Okay, that's why we always select the pre-created one. Okay, so that was success. And then, and going with instance again, check the instance, check the details of instance. Now, when I check the details of the instance, so check this private IP now. That's my private IP. Okay. So the private IP address is, you see the private IP, that's a private IP. Why the private IP address is something like 10.0.0.0? Why not something else? Since my subnet and then VPC range, so based upon that VPC subnet range, the IP is decided. Okay. So what does it mean? Back to the VPCs. Now, where is the VPC we have created? VPC security group. We already there under security group, and I want this security group. Not security group, right? Subnet is it? Sorry. Go to subnet. So side block for the subnets and the VPC, based upon the side block of the subnet, your IP address of the instance is decided.
Sir, we are already given IP address within the range of the.
Sorry. Yeah, correct. That's because of the subnet side block. So now you can see that. So that's your subnet we have created, and that subnet is 10.0.0.0. That's your side block /24. So that is the reason. So there you have your private IP is. Now, the difference between a public and private IP, what's the difference? So public IPs are given to the everyone. So for example, you are a user, okay, and you want to access, for example, I have a VPC created, I have my instance created, okay. On that instance, I have, so application is deployed. So we'll take that example in tomorrow's session anyway. So, and I want to access the application from that instance. Then I give you the public subnet IP. I don't give you the private IP. So the private IPs are used to access the instances within the VPCs only, not the outside of the VPCs. Okay. So what I mean is, so this is an VPC. Okay. Under this VPC, I have two instances. That's my instance 1, and here I have my instance 2. Okay. And they're under some subnet. Okay. That's subnet. Okay. You might be having different subnet. That's different. Now these instances, so these two instances want to communicate. Yes, they can communicate each other with the help of private IPs. Why private IP? They're on these same VPCs. But for public users, so he's a public user. This public user is provided with private IP. He wants to access the instance. No, that's not possible. So he'll be able to access only with the help of public IP, not the private IPs. So that's the difference between public and then private IPs. Okay, but now proceed with, and so we have seen how to create an VPC, how to create a subnet, that to public subnet, how do we launch instances in them, and how to create NACL, and how to create security groups. Finally, launch instance within the VPC within the subnets. Okay. Now, what kind of subnet we have created? A public subnet, right? How do I know this is a public subnet? Now you see that. So there is no information about anywhere that this is a public subnet or private subnet. There is no information is provided. Only with the help of the name only we can differentiate it. But that's not the correct way, right? While I create my subnet, I might have typed something else. Instead of public IP, public subnet, I might have given some other names. With the names, identifying is not possible. Then how do I identify that? So what is a public IP? What is a public subnet? What is a private subnet? Hope you remember the concept. So you differentiate that with the help of not okay. So just go with here. Under route tables, hope you remember again what is route table. The route table is used so to connect to connect your subnet. Let's see. But since I have created my VPC wizard, the subnet is automatically launched under the VPC. But in normal cases, you create VPC, you create subnet, then you attach these two. Okay. But here, since we have created VPC and subnet using the launch wizard, that's why they are created. So they are attached by default, but the attachment between the subnets and then VPC is done. So and to the route table. Now you can see that that is your internet gateway. What is internet gateway? The internet gateway is for the purpose of public subnets. So that's your public subnet. By looking at the internet gateway, now you can identify that this is your public subnet. Okay, right. So now proceed with creating and second type of VPC, a VPC with public and then private subnet. Okay, so let's see how do you create that. Now launch VPC. What is that? Now let VPC. So going 1 second, it's loading. It's loading. Just a second. Right. Oh, where are we? Why we are under this step? 1 sec. I think are we under the VPC EC2 dashboard? Oh well. So why we are at this page? 1 second. Back to the VPC. Okay. What is it? What is happening? I cancel it. Why this is loading again? Cancel it. 1 second. Let's go to VPC again. Why this page is loading again? VPC. Select the VPC. So go with the launch wizard. Launch. Now, so we are going to create the second one, which is public and private subnet. So we're going to create two types of VPCs. So two types of subnets within that VPC, and one is a public subnet, other one is a private subnet. Now select it. So where I select, first, as usual, your VPC information. That's your first information VPC. And secondly, it's a public subnet information. And thirdly, your private subnet information. Okay. Now, so first give an CIDR block for the VPC. Okay. This is your CIDR block for the VPC, which is /16. Okay. And then which is like 65,000. And then VPC name. I'm creating VPC and scenario 2. Okay, VPC scenario 2. Let's give something. Okay, and then so this is your public subnet information, and which is /24, and as usual it's 251. I will be changing these CIDR blocks. So, but let me just explain basically first. Availability zones. Select the availability zone of the public subnet and give a name to the public subnet. So the name is VPC scenario 2, and which is public subnet, let's say. Okay, public subnet. And then so this is your private subnet information. That's CIDR block 24 and availability zone. Select the availability zone. You can select the same availability zone or different availability zones. And then next is your name of the private subnet. So this is the basic information. That's a basic information. Okay. Now, what are the things we need to concentrate while we create these so different subnets in the same VPC? Well, the first thing, let's look into the CIDR block. As we know that the CIDR block of VPC so is /16, and then your subnet CIDR block has to be within the range. So we know that. Okay. Well, but if it is, what if both CIDR blocks are 24? See that? Now, my VPC CIDR block is 24, and your public subnet CIDR block is also 24. There is no issue, right? There is no issue. Are we clear? So, like we have seen, I have shown you that previously. So your public subnet CIDR block and then VPC CIDR block both are within the range. That's not a problem. But so now you have issue with your private subnet. Okay. The first issue is, let me change this. I'm going to change the IP address range. Now, what is the CIDR block here for VPC? 10.0.0.0/24, and this is also same 10.0.0.0, but the subnet is for private subnet. It is a different IP range, so that's not possible. The IP range has to be within the same. So I'm changing it to 0. Now again we have an issue. So hope you are able to concentrate. So these are the things where you get the conflicts while you create the subnets. Okay, remember, these are the important things. Now we have an issue. The issue was, so just look at here, public and private subnet CIDR cannot be same. They cannot be overlap. So yes, they cannot be overlap. Why cannot be overlap? So look at the IP range, look at the subnet range. So they are same. That is never possible. Why? For example, I'm creating an instance in public subnet, and the IP address is 10.0.0.1, and same time I'm creating an instance under private subnet which is 10.0.0.1. So that is not possible. And two different instances, I'm creating two different subnets, but they have same IPs. That's never possible. That's the reason IP cannot be overlapped. The CIDR cannot be overlapped. The public IP, public CIDR and private CIDR should be different. Okay, remember that. So that's the second point you make a note of it. So I'm changing that to something else. Let's say change it to 1. But still it's not allowing us to do it. So why? So is not within the range of 24. Again, the issue is your CIDR of your VPC can create only 251. Right? How this IP is changed? The first three 10, 0, 0. Okay, these three are static. The last will be changed. That means 10 0.0. So 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3 up to 0 to 51. But my private IP itself is that's not within the range. I'm creating something with different IP range. Yeah, so that's not again possible. Okay. How do I make sure that? So that's under my same IPC range. So VPC range it is. I would be changing it to 16. Then that would be possible. So now these are possible now. /16 and this is 24 plus 24. So that's possible. Okay. Well. Okay. Is that clear? IP conflicts. So this is what we call IP conflicts. The CIDR block conflicts. Okay. Well. And moving on to now availability zones. Can I create two different subnets under same availability zones? That's not a problem. You can create them. Availability zone cannot be a problem. Now, what if I'm changing that to, now you can look at that again. So back to CIDR block. Okay. Then, so I'm going to change it to 0.1.0. Okay. That's a range. Now, is it possible now? That's again not possible. So like these things we should be taking into consideration. Okay. So because that is a conflict now, the conflict will be with your public IP now when your public subnets. So there will be a conflict. Okay. So make sure about this. Now scroll down. So when I scroll down, and then you have next is. So what is that? Specify the details of NAT gateway. Specify the details of NAT gateway. Okay. So what is a NAT gateway? Like I said, so NAT gateway is attached to the private subnet. Okay, and then that NAT gateway allows you to access the internet for the instances in the private subnet. Okay, so we must have a private subnet must have a NAT gateway attached, but NAT gateways always has to be allocated with an IP address. Okay, well, so guys, any issues? Just a second, 1 second. Hope that should be okay. 1 second, let me just. Yeah, guys, please check your connectivity as well. Check your connectivity. I think this should be okay now. It should be okay. Just okay. Please so check this out. I think this time no issues, and I have connected my cable. Actually, I plugged in my cable. So I was using wireless. Now I'm using cable. I think that should be okay. So, but now there you have availability zones. Now and then private subnet name. Now we are talking about NAT gateway. So that NAT gateway is for your VPC. But if you want to create a NAT gateway, the NAT gateway has to be assigned with an IP address. So it has to have at least an IP address attached. Which IP address? Now, so we need to have attached an elastic IP. Okay, so an elastic IP address has to be attached to the NAT gateway. But do I have any elastic IPs? We don't have any elastic IPs. So assign the elastic IP. So back to elastic IPs. How do we create the elastic IPs? Here itself we are already there. Now you can see that we are already in the VPCs, and then we have elastic IP, elastic IPs. Okay. So allocate elastic. Okay. Just go with next. Just nothing else you do. Create and allocate. Now elastic IP is being created, and this elastic IP I will be assigning NAT gateways. Okay. How do I select it? In the VPCs, and then elastic IP. That's elastic IP. Okay. Well, so create a VPC. Error. So what was that? Maximum number of VPCs has been reached. So the code status is VPC limit exceeded. Okay, the VPC limit exceeded. I've created number of VPCs, maximum number of VPCs. That's the reason. So in order to make sure, I go with VPCs. I have to delete a VPC. Calculate maximum number of VPCs. So the reason is I'm not, this is my business account. Hope you remember that when I'm and so account, I have created a trial account, free tier account, right? So in free tier account, you cannot create more than 5 VPCs. But whereas in business account, you can create number of VPCs. I don't think that this will be something like it. So real time, no. Okay. So which one I'm going to delete? So probably I'm going to delete that, this one. Okay, let me delete that. Or else I can delete this one as well. Like, I'm not using the right place, so I can delete that. Yeah, I think I can do it. If you see, it should be okay. Yeah. I just delete it. That's not a problem. Yeah, where is it? Once in, do it one by one, I guess. So delete VPC. Okay. Just confirm that, delete. Okay, delete. Okay, so it's deleted. Now back to this. We need to again follow the steps. Back to the VPC wizard, and I'm creating VPC in. Okay, select the second one, create it. Okay, and then so again same steps, give some names, VPC scenario 2. Okay, that's a VPC name, and then the CIDR block, and then availability zones, 1A zone, and then this is your public subnet name. Public subnet name is VPC scenario 2 public subnet, and then that's your CIDR block for private subnet and availability zone, and then that's your private subnet name. So private subnet, and then allocate an elastic IP. Elastic IP. Okay, that's for NAT gateway elastic IP. Create. So we are creating. So I'm VPC with multiple subnets. Okay, public and then private. Okay, so now I'll be created, successfully created. We can launch an instances in your subnets. We can do it, but okay. Okay. So which one that was? So once you can refresh this. That's a VPC scenario 2. Okay, that's a VPC scenario 2. And select that. Second, they're loading. Okay, so then just check this out. Okay, and that's your. This is the NACL which is attached to that VPC. That's a NACL. Okay, and then there you have the route table. That's a route table. Okay, and go to the route table. So that's our route table. And then, so look at the subnets associated with this. Okay. I think this is, yeah, that is your subnet. That's a subnet. Okay. And then, so routes, you see that under route, you have a NAT gateway attached. Okay. That's your NAT gateway, which is attached to this. Okay. That's your NAT gateway. Now, this is how you know that this is your top private subnet. Okay, that's your private subnet. So private key. Okay, then so back to the subnets. Now look at the subnets associate. That is a subnet. Okay, the subnet. So this subnet is a private subnet, and that has NAT gateway attached. So you can see the name of the subnet. Your private. Okay, that's a private. Okay, that's your private. Once again. sorry, yeah. And then so you have your VPC. That's your VPC. So let's subnet. Yes, subnet. And so what else? We check this out. Availability zone. There is availability zone, which is OP zone. All right. And so we're going to check this also. Your private public subnet. Okay, let's check the public subnet. So back to the subnets. And which is our, this is the one that's a private one. And check the public. Okay. And then so that's your VPC, and this is under VPC scenario 2. Okay, there's your network access control list. Yeah, that's your route table again. So the same route table, you can go to the same route table. That's your route table, okay, which is attached. Well, so now you can see that even our VPCs and everything, that's your VPC. I can check that subnets again. You can see that that's your subnet. Now you can see that both subnets are associated. You can see that subnet. So that's your public subnet, and this is your private subnet. So both subnets are associated. Yeah, right. So that's all information. And for this public subnet, you can see that there is internet gateway. Yes, that's internet gateway. For the private subnet, we have seen that was an private NAT gateway. Public subnet, this is internet gateway. Okay. Right. So, well, now what we're going to do, we're going to launch an instances. We'll be launching instances in both VPCs, public and then private subnet, but with a different way. Now, first let me check this, whatever NACL is attached to that. I want to check the NACL first. Okay. So what NACL attached? Check NACL, and then we'll be creating security, like what I have done the first type of scenario. And then, so what is it? Just scroll down, and then that's your NACL. Okay, that's your NACL, network access control list, which is attached to these two subnets. Okay, you can see that that is attached to the both subnets. Okay, so subnets. So we have both subnets, and public as well as the private subnets that is attached to it, already attached. And you want to modify that NACL, you can modify the NACL. Okay, so you want to modify the NACL, inbound rules, and then outbound rules, you can modify that NACL. Okay, but so, and I'm going to create some security groups again now. Let's create some security groups. Under security, we have security groups. So I will be creating two security groups. One is for the public subnet instances, other one is for private subnet instances. Okay, so I created too many security groups. Okay, that's okay, that will be a problem. Create a security group. Now you see, this will be something different. So for public subnet, first give some name. Let's say VPC scenario 2. Okay, VPC scenario 2, and then which is public subnet and security group. That's my security group name, and give a description. description. Okay, and then now which VPC? Select the VPC. That's a VPC scenario 2. VPC scenario 2, and then you have inbound rules. Now inbound rule, this is a public subnet, right? Since it's a public subnet, I would go with HTTP inbound and from anywhere. So from the previous scenario, so like last session, I've created public and private subnet. Public subnet, I will be having application servers. So it is HTTP servers. And you want to go with SSH as well, go with SSH. Okay, SSH, and then so you can go with custom IP or anywhere, whatever you select that, or from my IP. SSH is only from my IP. Okay, and then select save it, create security group. We'll be creating the security group, which is for our private subnets. Create a security group. Okay, and this one is for security group for the private. Okay, let's say it's for private. That's for private. Okay, private subnet security group. And how do we create this? This is somewhat different. Okay, let's see. And give a name. And then your VPC, select the VPC, scenario to VPC. And inbound rule. So what type of rules I want to allow? So this is a private subnet security group. This security group will allow only database related request. Okay, from the again the same scenario last session we discussed that whole VPC concept, right? So within that VPC I have public and private subnet. Private subnet will have our database instances, will accept only so database related request. So what type of database? Let's say I'm using Oracle. Let's say Oracle RDS. Okay, and then so from where? Is it from anywhere? No, it's not from anywhere. I want to restrict that. From where? Custom. And which custom? The security groups of what? This is for public subnet only. Okay, I'm selecting something like I'm selecting security groups of so public subnet. Why public subnet only? So that public subnet has within the VPC public subnet and private subnet. Public subnet request will be accessed by the private subnet. So this private subnet will accept only request from the security group of public subnet. It won't allow some beyond that security group. This security group is for public. Okay, this is how you restrict it. And you want to add more type of databases. I like to add so SQL. Okay, let's add SQL, Microsoft SQL, whatever it is. Again, security group. What security group? The security group of public subnet security group of the same VPC, not a different VPC, same VPC. And then so you create a security group. Okay, so this is what you do finally. Now we are ready to launch instances. So what do we do now? Back to the instances. We launch instances now. EC2. So we are ready to launch instances in our VPC and subnets. Now, So proceed with launch instances. It's loading. So they launch instances. Okay. Select the same thing, the default ones, t2.micro. Well, proceed with. So VPC, which is your VPC scenario 2. Okay. Then the subnet. That's a subnet. So we are going with public first. Going with public, and then so auto assign IP address, enable it, and going with next. And then next, and give a name. That's okay. This is name. And security group. Which security group? The security group is, I'm selecting an public security group for the VPC scenario 2. Okay, and the rules already been set up. You see the rules? The rules already been set up. Okay, well, now what if I'm creating, go with previous step, previous again. So this time I'm going to select an private subnet instance and then enable and go with next, storage, and tag security group. In the security group, since this is my private subnet instance, I would select the different private subnet security group. Okay, and then so whatever the rules we have set up, you can select it, you can see the rules, and then you can review and then launch instances. And finally, so your observation has to be, okay, your instance must be launched in the particular VPCs and with IP ranges as well. That is what you're going to observe. Okay, fine. So you just try it from your side. So create instances, 2 different instances. One is under public and other one is under private. And check that whether these are launched under your private subnets, public subnets with particular security group, with NACL, and then IP range availability zones. This is what your observation has to be. So once you launch instances, after instances is being launched, check all these ones. Check the security group, but before that VPC, and then subnet, what subnet, and then what is your IP, and then availability zone, and then so what else, and yeah, NACL. Okay, and then if you want, you can do SSH from one instance to another instance. That's, you can also do that. Now, so let me give you an scenario now. The scenario is we have created 2 subnets, right? 2 VPCs. I mean, VPC1 scenario. Okay, VPC1 I have created. Also, I have created VPC2. I have 2 subnets. I mean, 2 VPCs. I mean. So the instance under this VPC, instance 1, from that instance 1, I want to do SSH to the instance 2. Okay, so this is what I want to do. I want to do SSH. Okay, so is it possible? Instance 1 VPC, I have instance 1, and for instance 2 and the VPC 2, can I do SSH between these two? That's not possible. So two VPCs communication is never possible by default. But I want the communication has to happen between the VPCs. So how it is possible? Now here we talk about VPC peering. So if you want to have two VPCs cross communication, one VPC to another VPC, we can create an VPC peering connection. So what is that? Now, so back to VPCs again. Under VPCs, so there you can see that VPC peering connection. The peering connection allows the cross communication between the VPCs. But you first, so create the connection. Once the connection is created, then they can start communicating each other. So create a VPC peering connection, and then so name, give some name, say VPC peering. VPC peering, then one something, and then so requester. Who is requesting? Our VPC1 is requesting. Okay, and VPC1 is requesting, and so that VPC1 wants to communicate with other VPC who is acceptor. The acceptor is VPC scenario 2. Okay, so first one is the requester, second one is the acceptor. Requester and then accept. The requester is scenario 1 VPC1, acceptor is scenario 2. Okay, then but there you have options. So where is that scenario 2? Where is the VPC 2? Is it on your account? Yes, that's on my account. Or is it on another account? If there is another account, you can go with get the IP, get the account ID of the another account. So you know the account ID. You can get the account ID, but it should be a different ID, not the same ID. And then, so in which region? Is it in the same region or different region? That is also another region. So what is the region that is? Okay, so this is also possible to raise a VPC connection on same account with different regions, and same account, same regions, or else another account with same region or different region. So all possible. Okay. So then I'm going with my account and then same region, because both VPCs are in the same region. Okay, then so that's your VPC2. Will I be able to do it now? So this is another important point. You just keep it in mind. Now simply I create the VPC peering connection. Just look at here. I'm not able to create it. Why? A peering connection can be created between two VPCs that have overlapping CIDRs. What does it mean? Please select two VPCs which have distinct CIDRs. Whenever you want to create a VPC peering connection, both VPCs should have different IP range, different CIDR plot. Otherwise, we cannot create that peering connection. The reason is it is IP overlapping. Okay, there is overlap between first VPC and then second VPC. The IP overlap cannot be done, cannot be happening in the VPC peering connections. So this is a very important point you should keep in mind. Okay, and once you create that, Or shall I go with one more? Do I have any other VPCs with different? Okay, probably I can do that. Yeah, I can select a different VPC. Yeah, I can do that. IP address, IP range is different. I can create something here. Okay. Add, and then name is equals to, okay, just say peering connection 1 something. Okay, create a peering connection now. So peering connection is created. Okay, but it's on same account, right? Right. So now the peering connection has been raised. After that, I simply accept it. And so this is just select the connection. Now actions and accept the request. Now accept it. Now it is ready to accept it. Now it's active now. So in the future, you can also so that what do you call it? So delete VPC connection. You can delete the VPC connection. Okay, you can do it. But since this is under same account, I can see them. But what if it is a different account? Go to the other account, you select that, and then you accept it. Then it is possible. We can see the IP ranges here, the requester IP range, and then acceptors IP range. Okay. So this is how the cross communication between the VPCs happen. So VPC can be different accounts or different regions, or same account, same regions. And then the VPC peering connection is possible. Okay, clear? So that is also an important question in this. Okay. Now, what are you going to try now? So, okay, let me give you. I think you can have this. This scenario is already there in the document, scenarios document. But so, what you can try? So, try this scenario. So, this is possible with help of VPC peering connection. And try to do SSH from one instance to another instance, but your instance 1 under VPC 1, instance to under VPC 2. Okay, so try that. Yeah. So this is regarding your VPCs and then how do you create them. And we'll be creating these VPCs and NACL, all these ones in the future through Terraform as well. Okay. Right. So, and regarding tomorrow's session, tomorrow we also, as a very, very important session, we'll be talking about auto scaling and then load balancing concepts in tomorrow's session. Okay. And for classroom students, and you can start attending your classroom sessions probably from Tuesday. So Monday is a day off for us. We don't have any sessions on Monday. From Tuesday onwards, classroom students, you can start attending your classroom sessions. Okay. So if you have any issues, anything, any confirmations, you can call the admin team and they'll let you know. Okay. But Tuesday onwards, so your classroom sessions will be resumed.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Sir, Monday holiday, sir?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Sir, one doubt, sir. Sir, peering in the CIDR blocks chain, we can create one VPC, two VPCs connection is acceptable?
Yes, not a problem. You can do it. Okay. So we have third VPC. Okay. Third VPC can also
we are given 16 or 17 CIDR block like the last.
Yes, correct. That has to be again the same thing. So the IP conflict should not be there.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? No questions? So see, there might be some network down issues, something that might happen in between. So yeah, so yeah, that's the reason. So you should have good internet connectivity. The connectivity should not be there. It might happen in between, but not throughout the session sometimes. Yeah. But you can refer the videos if you have. So, or else if you have any questions, you can just let me know. Right. Thank you.
Okay, sir.